on a Friday morning.
There you go.
Derek
Barrett, Anthony Harris,
Derek Barrett,
Irvin.
and
let's just see a second.
Yeah. Okay.
This is what we call flipping.
This is what it looks like.
How long is this?
Well, we're over at
Segment.
11, so
Well,
we're just,
okay.
you got to slide a
I'm
little
an
bit this
old
way.
guy, so I have to get up and go.
Okay, you let us know.
Slide over so you're on
Slide
camera.
more. We're going to get everybody on camera. Slide on over this way. Ed, can you
Hey,
read
Ed,
the
why
I
don't
gotta
you
slide
put
over.
the camera here?
Okay.
I got to slide over.
Yes, sir.
We want to get Irvin in here, too,
get
because
close.
Irvin's going to ask you some
All right.
questions.
Close around
There
here.
we go. Look at that.
No
Look at that
problem.
handsome. Look at that
No
handsome
problem.
shade.
I believe in same-sex marriage.
That's all good.
That's a good one. Okay, Mr.
I
Ellis.
actually don't.
We got some questions, and in general, before we get into the questions, what have you been up to in the past, I guess, few months since the last election that you ran, and almost beat Ricker? What have you been up to?
We
since
did
then?
win, but that's another. They stole one, as they say.
You heard
No,
it
wait a
here.
minute. Now that's not. I'm not inferring here that,
Right.
that some hanky-pank happened. I'm saying they stole an election. You know, that's like in a sports analogy when a team come into your home arena and
right.
they win.
Okay.
They say they stole one
Okay.
today. So,
Okay.
like that, they got away, but not next time.
And there we
Yeah.
go.
So are you going to run? Are you
am.
saying now?
I am.
That was one of my questions. Are you
But
running for mayor? But
I am running for mayor. But let me get back to your original
Okay.
question. What have I been doing since the last 11, 12 months? Of course, I've been traveling a lot. I represent a firm, Chest Engineers, an international engineering consulting firm. We have projects in Ghana, we have projects in Nigeria, we have projects in Brazil, and just returned from Uganda where we're embarking on a major water project there. So I've been quite busy. I spent 14 days in East Africa, and I just got back 5 days ago. So good to be back home.
That's wonderful.
Good deal.
Welcome home.
Yeah.
Well, I had a question. Now that I know that you're going to run for mayor again, now that Macon and Bibb County has now been consolidated.
Yeah.
Are there any other parts of any other political position that you want to run for besides mayor? I mean, because I actually earlier one time, like, I mean, don't you think running for mayor is kind of old hat? I mean, they ever thought about going for, like, running for governor or
Not really,
state
man. I
senator?
want to be mayor as long as Mayor Daley was mayor of Chicago. He was 25 years.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
Wow.
No,
Call.
but
Phone
no,
call.
really, I really enjoy being the mayor. I mean, it's one of the best positions, I think, in the city and elected politics. You're close to the people. You're able to get things done. You get that gratification, and even sometimes immediate gratification, because you can make things happen on a daily basis to improve the lives of people. Maybe whether it's moving a dead dog from someone's yard on the street that's been there for 2 or 3 days and Public Works hadn't picked it up, or an overgrown lot that senior citizens complain about. You can make that stuff happen. You can make it go away. And I've always enjoyed that. But it's not just about filling potholes and picking up trash. It's also about improving the overall quality of life for people, trying to make sure that the city is poised to take advantage of the era in which we live, and we're not right now. We are less than 100 miles from the largest economic engine south of Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Georgia.
85 miles away.
So we're in the economic impact zone, but we haven't benefited as much because of some very short-sightedness on the part, primarily Republicans, Tony Perdue, when they would not go ahead and connect Atlanta to Macon with trains. We were on the road to do that when I bought the terminal station in 2000. That was the purpose of buying it. It was designated as a multi-modal facility, and trains would be running. Roy Barnes had agreed we were going to get it done. The S-line, the one that runs through Forsyth and Barnesville and Griffin, that would have been up and running now. And if we get connected to Atlanta, Macon, Georgia, 85 miles away, if we get connected to Atlanta, all bets are off in terms, when I get, say, connected, better connected in terms of transportation. And especially rail would be the thing to do it. So we have a lot of, we have to think big. We have a lot of big things to do, and I look forward to being a part of it.
I wish they would have done it 20 years ago. At least Macon would have had Olympic sport
During the
the
Olympics.
96 games.
I remember that. I sat, I wasn't in elected office at the time, but I sat in a meeting at the Bibb County Courthouse with then Mayor Carter and Larry Jessers, who was the chairman of, and the people from the Olympics, because I was a volunteer with the Olympics, then I went on the payroll with the Olympics. So I had the the privilege of be sitting in the room when they were going to bring softball here.
Yes.
Softball was going to
Field,
come
right?
here, and all we had to do was say we're going to build facilities, and that they were going to help us build them, and at the end we'll get them back. But we had to put up some upfront money and they said, well, we don't have the money to do it. And they turned around, went to Columbus, look at Columbus softball facility, the rest is history. Plus, it was an Olympic venue. So we just completely, we were short-sighted. We cut off our nose, as they say, to spite our face.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, let's go back to when you were mayor. I have a few questions with it. As a lot of people around here know, there were a lot of naysayers as far as when Mr. Ellis here was mayor.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was the group that came out that wanted to remove you? Was it Remove Ellis? What was that called?
Recall.
When you first heard of that, now what was your thought? Your honest initial
Why don't
thought?
they go find something worthwhile to do?
So you don't think you didn't think they had a leg to
Of
stand
course,
on?
I know they did, because
You
the
did?
state of Georgia, the laws in the state of Georgia on recall and elected officials is very clear.
Right.
Very clear. You must have violated a law or violated your oath of office.
Right.
And I knew I hadn't done either one. So,
Right.
It's like someone says, hey, man, the police are looking for you, and you just walked in here. You said, well, I know I haven't done anything.
Right.
So
Right.
what's the deal?
So-
and the same guy, that the DUI guy, the judge, was the DA before he became judge.
Howard Sims?
Yeah,
I want to ask you about him.
Howard
I got
Sims.
it.
He spent $1 million investigating my administration. $1 million and turned up with not one iota.
We got
of
a problem
evidence
with
that
him.
Nothing
We do have a
has happened.
We-
Plus the fact,
We do have a problem with him.
This, I'm not calling what I really want to call it. This guy also had Kelly Clark, my then finance director, arrested without an indictment. Put that lady in jail without an indictment. I had to go back to court, get in another court, and they dismissed the charges. And nothing ever come of that. But he never apologized for that. He almost ruined that woman's career. She's now working for the GAO and D.C. and doing quite well, because I told him exactly. She got caught up in this political machine. He wanted to be judge. He believed the hype, the recall and all that other nonsense. He thought there was some bear there, so he launches an investigation, and he wanted to be right because he wanted to be a judge, so he couldn't be wrong. So he just screwed with people and destroyed people's career to try to become judge, and you see what happened to him.
Right.
As they say.
Yeah.
And my mama used to
Chickens
tell me,
come home to roost?
No, my mom used to say, God doesn't like ugly.
That's right. I say that all the time.
Okay, but let me get back to this. So when you came into office as mayor, within I don't know, you probably don't know the exact number. How much was in the coffer in the money for the city of Macon?
Well,
how much was there?
Exactly what was in there in terms of fund balance.
Right.
Fund balance and cash reserve, two different things.
Right.
But we had cash on hand, approximately $16.8 million.
Okay.
That was there.
Right.
That was in the bank.
Right.
Now that's not against there was certain obligation that money was that had to be allocated.
Right.
Had been allocated for.
Right.
Such like we pay salaries every
then
month, and we and only so much money comes in. The only sure money is coming in is property tax, sales taxes. They go up and down. But anyway, that's how much money was there.
16 point. And then when you left, you did 2 terms. Do you know about how much was
I
left?
know exactly what was there when I left.
What was left?
$6 million. Let me tell you how did we get from
explain this.
16.9 or 17 million to 6 million.
Right.
We had something what is known as a sales tax renegotiation in 2003.
Right.
In other words, we were getting at that time, the city of Macon was getting 80% of every penny that was collected, all the sales tax that was collected in Macon, Bibb County. We were getting 80%. But because the county had expanded and the economic activities had moved outside of the county city boundaries, we went back, as we were required to do every 10 years, renegotiate sales tax distribution between the city and county. We lost on that one. We lost because I had a city council that agreed to vote for that, which I didn't agree to. My thing was, let's stay at 70%. We went from 80% of the sales taxes being collected to 60% of the sales. And we had to. Let me tell you why we had to take that deal at the end of the day, why I signed it. The state of Georgia laws state that at the end of December of the year that the negotiations is taking place, if you don't reach an agreement, you don't get any of the taxes. The state holds all of it. Well,
wow.
Well, here's the deal. 30% of our budget was based on sales taxes, the city's budget. 10% of the county's budget based on sales tax. So we blink, they played chicken, we blink, we had to, because had I not accepted that deal by 31 December of 02 or 03, whatever it was, we would have gone bankrupt. The city would have gone into receivership. That would have been forced consolidation. That's what Tommy Olmsted wanted to do as the chairman. He had a gun to my head. He wanted consolidation. That would have forced consolidation because the city would have been bankrupt, would have been insolvent. So consequently, we started spending from the reserves because we're not getting this 80%, we're getting 60%. So we spent from reserves. What I didn't do, I didn't raise taxes, didn't lay off a person, did not cut services, and left office with $6 million in the bank.
Here we go.
Okay, so the travels, you caught a lot of heat with traveling.
Oh.
Did you find it necessary to constantly leave the city and go to these other places? We before you answer, we had Bobby Gale on here, and Irvin gave Bobby Gale hell about him wanting to keep doing missionary work in Africa.
Yeah,
and such and
well,
such.
I was talking about
Well,
how
I think
And my thing is, if you were mayor again, or if you were one of the county commissioners, my point is, if you became mayor again, I mean, would you still make these trips out of Macon instead of working in Macon, or would you be working more out of Macon?
Well,
I think that's one of the problems people have too.
The misperception was that I went to Africa and spent a lot of money going to Africa. I did go to Africa, but I also went to Europe.
Right.
I also went to Asia. I went to Sister City and Kobe, Japan 3 times. You never heard anything about it.
Right.
I went to Macon, France, which I was invited 2 times. Two times they paid, and took a basketball team, a young youth basketball team. Won the European Cup. People didn't pay any attention to that, but yet little leaguers from Warner Robins win, and it's all over the news. But I understand that. I understand the environment in which I. But to answer your question, I think there are some trips that's worthwhile. Thank God that we have a relationship now with the country of Ghana. Our sister city, Elmina, that I established while I was in office, they have just discovered 15 billion barrels of oil in that province where that city is located. They are pumping oil now. That city now, because of my relationship, that country, they're getting ready to buy all kind of school buses from Bluebird Body because they have a host of money. They are buying chickens like crazy, and we're trying to get them to buy chickens. I was just there in July. We're trying to get them to buy chickens from Purdue or whoever to sell these chickens because they're importing, because they have their cash reserves is astronomical. This is the place used to be called the Gold Coast when it was a British colony, and of course they raped all the gold of it. But thank God they have oil. So now the country. So what I'm saying is that there's a need to have relationships with some places. But will I go as much as I did before? I will only go if I think it's in the best interest of a relationship that should be developed, or it's something, for instance, I went to the 50th anniversary of the independence of Ghana. What's the significance of that? Ghana was the first country on the continent to receive its independence in 57. But beyond that, Ghana is a place where 2 slave ports, that's where President Obama went when he first went to Ghana, the place where 8 million Africans were shipped to Georgia, South Carolina, the Caribbean, and of course we are descendants. So we are a city of 65% African American. Why wouldn't we have a relationship with a city that culturally and you know, from an ethnicity standpoint, that we are tied to, just as we have. Yeah, just as we have sister cities with Macon, France, and because of the name, and Krobe because of YKK, we have a sister city with Ghana because of our cultural ties.
One of our chatters here said reserves. Government's not supposed to hoard reserves. In reply to what you said, verbal bite. He's questioning what you said about reserves.
They're supposed to hoard them?
Yeah, go back up, Derek. H-O-A-R-D. He said, he go back up. He'll give you the exact words. Right here, he says, reserves, government's not supposed to hoard reserve funds.
Well, I don't agree with it, but if I understand the question, why do people build big reserve? That's hoarding to me when you hold on to something. So why do you build? Now, you might say you're not supposed to raise reserves. That's taking money out. But we do have a provision. The law states that we can spend from reserve. The county commission just balanced their budget this last year on reserves. The school board balanced their budget using reserves. Reserves is what is known as a rainy day fund. So this has become a rainy day, that either I raise taxes, I cut services, reserves. What do? It's just like in your home. If you have a problem at home, you have a leaking roof, and you have money in the bank in your savings account, and you say, okay, I can let my roof leak, or I can repair it, or I can go take out a loan to repair it, or I can take money out of my savings to repair it. We took money out of our savings in order to operate.
Okay. So now the state of the city, you have to admit, is not too well. You agree right now?
I mean, I left it in good shape right now.
Well, but so let me bring this back to you then. But according to you, you went to these countries to bring those countries money to us.
No, not
like
necessarily.
Bluebird.
No. That's a byproduct. The Sister City program that President Eisenhower, Republican by the way, started in 1952,
right,
was never about economic development. It's about people-to-people diplomacy. That's why we have sister cities. It's good if there's an economic development component, like making.
But I'm referring to Ghana. You said Ghana was now purchasing.
Yeah, Ghana. I'm saying that's a byproduct. Because you have relationships, then other things can happen. But I did not establish because when I established a sister city relationship with Ghana, they didn't even know they had oil. Elmina was a fishing village and a tourist village on the coast of the Atlantic. So they didn't know. But now I'm just saying, because of that relationship, we can get some things done.
Because of the oil, because of the oil that has been discovered, do you think Ghana will be able to have some type of infrastructure or something to have build like automobiles? I mean, Asia have countries like Toyota, like Japan has Toyota, and Korea has Kia.
I don't think so. Most of the manufacturing of automobiles on the continent of Africa takes place in South Africa, and it's very, because of the
it's more industrialized.
Yeah. Okay. South Africa is very industrialized. It's a first world country on a third world continent, basically with some third world components sprinkled in.
I think.
Anthony,
are you continuing the same question?
I want to take a segue here.
I do, but I want to stay on that question because I think what people are wondering and asking is they're wondering where all the money went, and then if, for example, you said you're getting other countries to invest in our city, why isn't that money coming back? You get what I'm saying? If they're purchasing,
I just told you where the money went. The money went from the reserves to pay operating costs because we didn't have as much money coming in sales taxes as we had. So we had a choice to make. The choice would have been to lay people off. I elected not to,
right?
Because I believe in people working. And Mayor Rickett believes he's laying people off. Yet he's spending money at the country club, $500 a month, while he's laying people off. Yeah, I mean, that's not how I operate. I don't have $76 dinners at the most exclusive restaurant while I'm laying people off. I don't do that while I'm raising people's taxes. That's not who I am.
I believe I have some good points of things you did in office, but I do want to commend you on.
But that's where the money went. I mean, there's no secret where the money went. This guy, the same judge that's been drunk on the streets, we're
going to talk about
this same guy, he spent $1 million doing a forensic investigation of all the city's finances, every check that written, every penny that came in, paid an Atlanta forensic firm $1.2 million to do that. So, and it came up nothing. So what I'm saying is that the money went where the money was supposed to go, and that is to pay bills, pay salaries, to provide services, pick up garbage, keep recreation centers open, provide public safety, and things of that nature. That's where the money went.
I know, but you get what I'm saying?
It didn't go to me.
No, but you're bringing up that you went to these trips to get these countries to then put their interest in our city.
Yeah, we did.
And if we don't have anything to show for that, then that's why everybody's mad about the situation with the city.
Wait a minute, that's not the purpose of it. You're missing the point. When I went to Macon, France, 3 times, taxpayers' expense twice, one time on their dime. We didn't go to bring wine in the wine district, the Beaujolais region of France, I think the Beaujolais. But we didn't go to import wine. We went because we have a cultural, educational, and other relationship with Macon, France because of the name Macon.
Right.
Any other reason?
That's all.
So we've sent several delegations there. We've had children to come here as exchange students. We have sent children there as exchange students. They come during our Cherry Blossom. We go to their festival. That's the nature of the Sister City program. It's not about an economic development issue.
But I know, but I think the reason people are mad about what happened during, not everybody, let me just say, that people are mad about your reign. It was
because I went to Africa. Not because I went to Africa. Not because I went to Europe.
Nobody ever. I agree there's racism in
nobody never read, not this newspaper or anyone else had one peep when I went to Japan as many times.
I'm agreeing with you on part of that.
And that's a fact.
I know people. There were people that were using the race card. I agree with that. But when you say you're going to bring money to this city by going to Ghana for the bus,
I never said that. I said that's a byproduct. I said that. Well, that's a byproduct of it. When I established a relationship, they couldn't buy a horse. They didn't have money at the time. But because of the relationship we have, they can now purchase.
Right, but that's why people are mad that the money's gone because
the money is gone.
What's the show for it?
So you're suggesting I spent $10 million in travel?
I'm telling you why people are questioning your terms.
People are uninformed.
Because if you start with $16.8 million, when you come in, you leave with $6 million.
Well, I just told you.
People are wondering where that $11 million
I just explained. It went through a sales tax renegotiation.
But why did the city get something out of that deal? Why are we prospering now?
You asked me where did the money went. It went to pay salaries. It went to pick up your garbage, to provide a fire truck when you call. It went to E911.
And that wasn't happening before you were mayor?
The money went.
We didn't have a trash system before you were mayor?
That's where the money went. We spent the money to do those things without raising taxes, without laying off our people, and without reducing services.
Okay,
that's
what explain the reason why and whether they
I understand what he's saying.
Now, whether that was a good decision, maybe you can question.
Maybe
you can question the decision. Maybe I should have laid people off.
Well, I'm not saying that.
But I'm saying those are options that were on the table. I could have raised taxes. Right. I could have cut back. I said, we're not going to pick up garbage every week. We're going to pick it up every other week to cut costs. I elected not to do that.
Now, let me Vorpalbite
wants to know. I know. I'm not asking a question. I know. Vorpalbite wants to know, are you a globalist? One of our chat.
I am a globalist.
And he disagrees with that. And then he wanted to ask you, what the hell's wrong with America? Why won't he improve this country?
Nothing wrong with America. America is part of a village now. We are all connected. Yeah. And if probably the coffee you drink this morning could have been picked in Uganda. The cup you drink it out of probably was made in China. The clothes you put on your butt probably was made in Vietnam. The shoes you put on probably were made in Brazil. We are connected, whether we want to be or not.
Urban, ask.
Okay. The question of relationship, and I appreciate that you brought that out because that to me is what's lacking in the political body here in Macon. Like real relationships. Like one of the things I appreciate about you, Mr. Mayor, is you came in one day after you and I was pro-consolidation. Of course, it took me a while to get there, but I finally said, the hell with it. Less government is somewhat better at this point. Too many heads rolling around. And it was because of their relationships with each other. It wasn't because I didn't want a city council. I understood why they have 15 members, a history of that.
Well, that's your option. You know, we live in a country where you can be on opposite.
But one thing that I did appreciate about you is that I always say you're a man of the people. You kind of blend in. You're an everyman. You go in, you're biking, you talk to people. This is my town.
I was born and raised here. I remember the days when I couldn't walk in this place and have a conversation with this gentleman. I remember those days. So my roots run deep here. 3 generations back, great-grandfather was a slave.
And I know you looked me in the eye. You said you love this city.
So I don't plan on going in. I travel all over the world, Macon, Georgia.
But here's my question. With all that said, you're a man of building relationships. That's the reason why he went to Africa and all that. He wasn't trying to look for money.
Well, you didn't live here when he was in office.
He gave the reason why
I think that's a red herring anyway, the whole Africa thing. If you really look at the money I spent going to Africa, I was sent to Africa twice by the State Department.
Right.
Once I led a delegation for the CDC where we did a big AIDS thing because looking at urban America and how we could get the AIDS pandemic down as they were doing in Africa. For instance, Uganda went from a 30% prevalence rate down to a 6%, and that was what we call a best practice. So I was sent there, led a delegation of mayors, the mayor of Knoxville, the mayor of Minneapolis, and several others, Mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. We all went, and I was head of delegation. delegation selected by the State Department, which I considered an honor to do. And we went there, stayed 5 days, and did our research, and came back and said, hey, there's some good programs. Maybe we can implement these throughout American cities. Made our report back to the State Department through the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Some of those suggestions were adopted. Some were not. I came home and said, okay, I want to use the ABC program as well. That's the program they have there. Other words, first of all, abstain. If you can't abstain, be faithful. If you can't do either one of those, use a condom. So I thought that was a very good program. I came back, held a press conference, and the media here turned it around and said, the mayor wants to give every high school kid and make it a condom. No, I don't. I want every high school kid that's sexually active to have a condom, because they are sexually active. If you don't believe it, look at the teen pregnancy rate in our town. So that's every time one of these kids have unprotected sex, it's either potentially a baby or an infection with HIV/AIDS, and we have to make sure that we be forthright and talk to them about that.
Absolutely.
We can't put our heads in the sand and say these kids are not sexually active. They are. If you don't believe it, go to the State Department, pull the statistics, look at the teen pregnancy rate. They didn't get, it's not some immaculate conception here. It came from them having sex.
You're in the fire line right here, Ellis. Mr. Jack Ellis. I got to. I know we got time. We got time, but we got to answer some of our chatters because they're giving you hell here. They think they're asking what are you doing for your city? You're talking about what you're doing for these other countries, but what are you doing for Macon?
I'm an investor in this city. I do all kind. I don't always have I have a foundation that I do a lot of things with children, both here, the Caribbean, and Africa, places that I've lived. And I have my own street. I just bought a house in the In-Town Historic District that I've just restored. So I'm helping to uplift the city and work hard in my church. I contribute to several charities, go out and work hard. And all of us should do that. That's all we can do. I don't have to hold a press conference every time I...
well, naturally, not right now. He's not in office. He doesn't owe anybody an explanation now.
Exactly.
But they're asking this.
Respected figure.
Right, but they're asking this if you become mayor again, because if you do get another term,
of course, my focus.
Are you going to leave again?
All politics is local. Don't never forget that. All politics is local. Chip O'Neill said it then. It holds true then. It holds true now. So my focus will always be on my city, my place. But we have to think globally and we act locally. We're not in some cocoon here. Right. You have to go out and look at best practices and develop relationships. Wait a minute. But here's the thing. We got a $20 million Hope 6 grant to rebuild Oglethorpe homes. That didn't just happen. That was because I went to D.C. and built relationships with an assistant secretary of housing and urban development. I built the relationship.
And I do want to bring up some good things I think you did do.
Within the Clinton Foundation in its last waning years. So we did our homework and we went and brought money. I brought over $100 million worth of federal dollars in this time.
And I appreciated one thing you did do also is that you did go back to the music, the impact of music on this city. I very much appreciated when you brought James Brown here. Yes. I went to that concert, that free concert right outside City Hall.
We're going to do more.
That was a great show.
We're going to do more until some people at the Cherry Blossom Festival, it may get...
I stood by you on that. I stood by him on that. I stood by that he was...
And we need to do it again.
He was doing that for the music,
we need to do
for the city, and that was needed.
He needs to do it again.
I commend you on that.
Had I been in office, the Music Hall of Fame would not have left this city.
That
we have to keep. That we had to keep. They're making Braves, okay. That, they can go. But the music, we have to.
Sports fans, man.
Yeah. I mean, to make a Braves wanted $18 million for me to build a stadium for them. Who in their right mind?
They didn't want to do it for the Olympics.
Hey, but wait a minute. AOL Time Warner owns at that time the Braves.
Yes.
A multi-billion-dollar corporation. Why would we take a small city with a $100 million budget and give them $18 million? Didn't make any sense.
This is your choice. This was your choice, and I don't want to dive into your faith. But why did you, I guess, become a member of Islam and change your name?
Well, I never changed my name no more.
You never did?
Never.
So that never happened?
I never changed my name.
Where did I hear that? That was all over
the
news.
I was given a name when I converted to Islam in Dakar, in Senegal, in the country of West Africa, where many, Gorée Island, where many of the enslaved Africans were sent, another port of debarkation. the
So
imam, the
they
supreme
honored
imam
you with
there,
that name.
honored
Okay.
me by giving me
great.
that
So
name. As
you-
in Uganda, and this is a Christian, primarily Christian country, they have given me a name, Sakito, because that's part of the Buganda kingdom, which was, and Sakito was a great grandson of a great king of the kingdom Buganda way back when, so they gave me that name in the ceremony.
Right.
And in Ghana, they gave me a name, Okwezi, because I was
Wow.
born on Sunday.
Man
so
of
when
many
you're
names.
when you're
Yes.
but when you're born in that
cultural
country,
thing,
everybody's born on that day.
Right.
It has Kwezi. So you'll find a million Kwezi. Whenever you hear somebody named Kwezi, you know they were born
Right.
on
Right.
Sunday.
I'm addressing on
I know, but we have an audience.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I'm addressing on
I know, but we have an audience.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
We, my question's always been about Macon, that it has this terrible polarization between people, and there's a lot of backtalk and backstabbing and
You mean a racial divide?
and
You say
it's not just
polarization,
racial,
it's
it's almost like
economic,
cultural.
it's economic.
It breeds
Is it
across
classist as well?
every
Class.
single
Class.
almost human being
Yeah.
here. And this
Yeah.
isn't a big city. Okay, I come from a city with
But what's your
9.8
question?
million people.
What's your question?
My question to you, sir, is about relationship. And sometimes being abrupt is not always the best way to be.
No, I'm just saying. I know
I'm
we're
just
time
saying.
limit.
Right.
Well, I mean, you've given it much time.
Oh well,
But I'm asking questions. I'm going right to the question. I'm going right to the question.
Being
Right.
open and honest about how you feel and all that. Why is that such a problem here, Macon?
Well,
And why
Macon
are there
has a-
black people who are against other black people in the same community, and white people who seem to get along a little bit better in this community? But what I'm saying is, why is
Okay.
there polarization, racism on both sides of the spectrum in this
Sure.
place, even against the same race in
Yeah.
this city? Why do
Yeah.
you think
Well,
that is
it's
such
not.
a problem?
It's not unique to Macon, Georgia. Remember Brooklyn Heights, I think it was, in Brooklyn.
That's where I grew up.
I mean, remember that incident with the Jewish and black
Oh, yeah.
kids?
Yeah,
you know,
Crown
so
Heights.
there's
And the Italians and the
you know,
Puerto
Yeah,
Ricans.
yeah. So we have that university. Unfortunate, especially in our country.
But
And I think
I'm
it's-
talking
I mean,
about
I
in our
think what-
body politics.
Yeah, but well, body politics is a result of the people you represent, your constituency. I mean, President Obama can't get out and be anti-gay, not when he needs the gay vote in order to get elected. I mean, that's so. Therefore, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What I say is that we all should seek what's right and try to do what's right by our fellow person, be black or white, be he rich or poor, be he old or young. That's what we all should try to do, because after all, we do have a church on every corner in the
Well,
city.
and that's-
So we
that's
should,
my
so we should be getting something out of those churches.
And we haven't. All
but
we have is a
but
stagnated
Dr.
city
Well, but
that has
Dr.
not
King,
been
you know what?
built
You
over
know,
30
you know
years.
what? Dr. King made a statement in 1965 after his letter from the Birmingham jail, maybe it was 63, where he stated that 11 o'clock on Sunday morning is the most segregated hour in America.
I
Well,
said
it's
that the
still
other day.
true in Macon, Georgia on 11 o'clock on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
We worship differently. We worship separately, but we say that we worship the same God.
Yeah.
So if we worship the same God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, if we worship that same God, then we ought to be more unified
Nah,
than we are.
it's taken a long time. It's not even
well,
there yet.
it's a long history. We have a long history. Some of it is not too good in Macon when you go back and look at the
still
the
complain about
history
the
of
Civil War.
the history of the city and the races and so forth and so on. Even intra races, you know, within the black community, there were some things that certain people were favored over others based on the hue of your skin and your bloodline.
Paper bags, that's right.
Well, the bloodline, because there are a lot of black people in this town with that's closely akin with Caucasians. Look
Yes.
at them and see. I mean, it's no secret. So that group was treated differently than the so-called the house Negro, if
Right,
you will,
right,
back
yes,
in
sir.
the day. So that was the division there. So then there was division outside of division between the races. So we've come from a long way, and we still got work to do. And I want to help close that divide.
Good.
Because
That's what I
that
want you to
divide is not good for our city. It's not good for the advancement of our city, be it in our school system. If we have a 52% dropout rate, and the vast majority of those people who are dropping out are African American youth, primarily African American boys, that does not bode well for a prosperous city.
Right.
We're going to continue to have a drag on because of the social and economic decay of certain parts of your neighborhood. You know, you can't, when they say rising tides lift all boats, yeah, but you got to have a boat. You got to be in the boat when the tides rise. So we have got a lot of work to do in this town, and all of us better come to grips with it if we want to live in a prosperous town. If not, we will continue to live in a town that's decaying and not growing.
Grade the current mayor's job so far.
A C plus.
C plus.
C plus.
And follow up. Why? What has he done wrong?
I think he's been a
wrong?
very ineffective leader. I think his short-sightedness to put $8.5 million of a SPLOST into a beautification project and put $1.1 million into a senior citizen center when our senior citizen group is the fastest growing. The baby boomers just turned 65, 66. I'm the leading edge. So this is a huge population explosion. That money should have been going into senior citizen house, which is a severe shortage in this town, a senior citizen program, and that's just one thing. But the other part of it, if I could put $8.5 million into a Second Street project, I could have found a way to keep the Georgia Music Hall of Fame here. That whole bit, I would have bought it. That whole thing cost $8.5 million when it was built in 1996. That's what we could have went back out.
Exactly.
The economy is improving and got all those artifacts and got them back here. Even if we had to run the Georgia Music Hall of Fame and say to like the Aviation Museum, say, state, we want some of your money, but we are running. We could have done that. It was a lack of leadership on his part and on Sam Hart's part.
I think so.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, we asked this question of all of our guests. 3 people that are currently in the city government, that are a detriment to the city that need to go.
A detriment.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot and say, hey, talk bad about them, but who do you think is just not
in politics?
Community activist, ineffective, that their time is up, and 3 people. Can you name us 3? We've had most guests name somebody. The only person that didn't name
Howard
anybody
Sims would be at the top of my list.
Right.
Yeah.
Howard Sims.
There we go.
Okay, that's number 1.
I think Sheriff Modena he's leaving
he's
anyway,
about to go
because
anyway.
what he just did was unconscionable. That he would take justice and roll it in the mud and roll it in the mud and roll it in the mud like that. If that's an indication, that's why I was against consolidation, having all the power going to the sheriff. If that's an indication of what's going to come with the consolidated government, the sheriff has all power, that doesn't answer to anyone. If that's an indication, and that is a very good indication of what can happen when you take and make a mockery out of justice.
There we go.
What about number 3?
That's about 4 or 5 times. So I'm going to
pass
number 3.
Keep going. I'm loving it, baby.
I'm going to pass on number 3.
You and I are on the same page. First of all, I'm a big
Listen, who must go?
Huh?
Who must go?
The third one. We asked for 3. You
Okay,
said
Robert
Regina
Rickard. I'm running against him. He got to go.
Okay, but now, come on now, Jack. Come on. That's fair. But let me ask this, and I'm not going to go through the whole story. No, that's far.
I can't think of another one.
That's far. But let me ask you this, and I'm just doing this because of the people, the chatters out there, and the people out there, they're going to say, this guy is racist. He's only picking white people.
They don't know me.
I'm saying, I'm not calling them that. Well, this
they don't know me.
But this city's been saying this about him somewhat. Believe me, he's heard this before.
Here's the deal.
Do you think there's any black person that should be out of office?
My great-grandfather is a Caucasian.
Right.
I have second cousins.
I don't think you're racist.
Look just like you.
We
have conversations.
But Irvin, no, when you didn't live here, there was a lot of. He went through a lot of hell about it.
You've never heard me. I embraced John Rocker. I embraced John Rocker when they wanted to throw him in the doo-doo can. I went to Atlanta and took him to Hank Aaron and said, this young man made a mistake, accepted the apology, because Hank Aaron was determined to throw him out of the league.
I don't think you're racist, Jack. But what I'm saying is,
I'm conscious of what's going on around me.
To tell the people that think you are, is there somebody of color in this city that you think is not doing a good job that needs to go?
Well, I'm not.
who can you name somebody?
I can't name anyone. Maybe there are some that if you evaluate them closely, you would come to that conclusion. But I haven't evaluated their.
Do you get along with Henry Fickling pretty well?
I get along well with Henry Fickling. I get along. I'm working in David Lucas' campaign, doing everything I can to help get in. Lonzie Edwards is
Sam Hart.
Sam Hart. I question his leadership and his
I love it.
And his will, sometimes political will, but I don't have a problem with him. We share bloodlines. His son is married to my niece, so
But you get what I'm saying. At for the viewers questioning this, they want to hear if there's somebody
I know
that
the
he
viewers
thinks
want to
is
hear.
not too good. The viewers
they like
and
to say
the
The viewers like
Okay,
it.
and one other thing that Ed wanted to ask you about consolidation. Were you for it or against?
No,
it?
he was
I was,
against it.
but I made it clear why. Now I remember when I was mayor, I put together a consolidation task force led by the late Senator Brown, and then later by current mayor Robert Rickett.
Right.
What I was against in this one was the sheriff being the chief law enforcement official, and it requiring a supermajority on a 9-member board to get anything done, rather than a simple majority of 5, as it normally is. But yet, the same people who said they needed the supermajority come back in this consolidation task force and said 5 people out of 15 can make a decision that's binding. So
Right.
that's just nonsense.
Yeah.
You know, what they want to do is continue to give us a 6-4-9, and our eyes are wide open, and we know better, and we're not going to go for it.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, we ask this question to every guest too. One mistake you made that you regret, or you wish that you'd done something differently in your term.
Well,
of office.
I think the mistake I made was, of course, I made more.
You
than
can
one.
give us more than
I
one,
made more
but
than
we
one.
asked- we
I
asked
made
for
more
one.
than
Yeah.
more than one mistake. That's for sure.
Right.
I mean, I hired a couple of people that I shouldn't have hired. Hired a couple of CEOs that my heart told me they were good people. One was a former deputy commander out of Robins Air Force Base, a full colonel, but he wasn't a city manager. I hired another very capable man who had worked in the private sector here in Macon. He didn't work out. So those were a couple of mistakes. And I think the mistake of not articulating better to the people, communicating better, more effectively early on about the money in our situation and the situation that we found ourselves in. But there was so much chatter and muddle that people just wanted to believe what they wanted to believe. So you try to get your message out. Say, hey, I could have, if I had to, like the president, get on there and say, hey, okay, media, carry me, and do some unedited, uninterrupted. Hey, here's our situation. We just lost this much money in sales tax negotiation. We now have this much obligation. We have this much money we're going to have in our reserves. Either we got to lay off maybe 10% of our workforce, or we're going to have to raise the garbage fees, or raise taxes, or cut back on services.
Yeah.
And I have made the decision that I made was to do some reserve spending, and hopefully that we will increase economic development and the money will come back at some point. Well, we got up to one time we got down to $1 million in the bank. I never tell people, we got down after payroll 1 month, we had $1 million. I said, oh my God. But we had sales taxes coming in and other things. And one time we did have to get a bridge loan as a school board, and that's what they allowed it for. And in a way, it's not a bad thing. It's a tax anticipation note, a TAN. But what it does, the banks charge you 1% money, so you can borrow money on your sales tax coming less than 1% that you pay. And if you don't use it, you don't pay any interest on it, but you can gain interest by having it in the bank. So that's a pretty good deal. So I borrowed $5 million a couple of years. Didn't need the $5 million, needed about 2 of it. So the other $3 million accumulated interest when I only paid interest on the amount that I used. So at the end of the day, it was a wash, or we came out ahead.
And you paid the $5 million back?
Oh yeah, we had to pay it back.
Bad Two-Face wants to ask a question. Bad Two-Face, go ahead and ask a question. We'll get to it.
With that said, probably him doing that and trying to figure out how to kind of generate some income and kind of what they call moving the money around. Right away they accuse you of, he's playing with the fuzzy numbers and all of that, when he was thinking something more legitimate and something honest. Basically, he's smart, trying to bring...
That's what Republicans and this right-wing thing do, just like with our president right now. Yeah. They are accusing him of being in bed with Solinda, that he gave them $4 billion, whatever it was, and they knew it was going to go bankrupt. He decided who was going to be a winner. Yeah. He invested in something that he thought that he thinks, and I agree, that's a wave of the future, and that is alternative sources of energy: wind, solar, and things of that nature. That's the alternative. Now we can't keep running oil and gas
former Mayor,
and gold.
Recently, just before you came in, we were talking about the 5 signs of how racism still rules politics from Mr. Saruta in the Salon.com article, and elaborate on Irving's question about the divide. Do you think the reasons why, I mean, even during your term or even after your term, the reason why we have very slow progress in this in the city because of is it due to is it racism or classism
I think it's a combination of both. You know, we can't. You know, a house. I mean, the Bible is very clear. A house divided against itself cannot stand. So we can't concentrate all the poverty in a particular section of town. That's been proven not to work. It didn't work in Harlem over the years. Now you see Harlem is more of a integrated.
But were you thinking you were divided?
Gabrina Green, Housing Project Chicago. Those models don't work anymore. The new urbanism is you disperse poverty. You don't concentrate poverty. Until you can do that, where everyone is saying that they can get a piece of this pie by growing, not taking what other people have, but by expanding the pie. And until banks, grocery stores, and other people who provide services completely must realize that the people in South Macon have income to spend on groceries and medicines just like everyone else. And they need bacon services. But yet, all the grocery stores are closed there. All of the banks are closed. There's not a pharmacy. There's not a pharmacy. There are convenience stores that sell
and they sell junk food to kids.
But let me tell you what happened. When they eat that junk food, what do? They get diabetes. They get overweight. And where do they go? Yeah. They go to the emergency room, indigent care. They don't have insurance. Who pays for it? We do.
More money. Right.
So we've got to realize that we're all in this thing together, whether we like it or not.
But in no way do you think you were ever responsible in somewhat dividing this city while you were in term?
Of course not. You never said.
Because that was one of your accusations.
The only thing that I said had a connotation of race, and I regret it and I apologize. It was to Herbert Denard, who was a black man. I called him a scared Negro once, and that was taken out of context. What I said to him was, and I didn't call him. I said, you have what my good friend, the former mayor, late mayor of Atlanta, Maynard Jackson, first African American mayor of Atlanta. What Maynard had a saying was, there is a disease in some of the black community, and it's no cure for it. It's called the scared Negro disease. Right. And I said to him, you don't have that disease that Maynard Jackson talked about, do you? The scared Negro disease. That's what I said to him. It was reported that I called him in.
Well, I'm all about freedom of speech anyway. I think people just make a big to-do about nothing anyway.
But I think there is a disease called anti-intellectualism where people making stupidity cool.
Right.
I think he also suffered a lot. Of course, he's more eloquent than I am, and obviously more astute at what he does. But I think that's one of the reasons why people can't stand me.
Because the sharp edge? Because
the sharp edge in your face. I really don't know.
No, he was bringing up the Hugo Chavez thing.
Something else. What I'm saying about him personally, why people call him a racist, is because
not everybody.
Well, not everybody.
Just that was part of the accusation. They said he was just basically soaking the money out, and that he was doing
stealing all the money, taking it to Africa.
Right.
He's been more of an honest in your face.
As though we can do that in the government, and it's not a paper trail.
I'm gonna get your on-the-spot reaction and answer to it, because I only heard this in the Telegraph, and I don't care for the Macon Telegraph as a newspaper anyway. I don't think they get things right. But when the whole thing happened, when you had the blue lights put in your car and you pulled over that pedestrian, what was that all about?
Well, it wasn't a pedestrian. Let me tell you what it was all about. Of course, my car was a police car assigned to the police department, and I had a police driver, so therefore I'm authorized to have blue lights and sirens.
So that is written in the rules of the mayor.
That's as long as the car is assigned to the police department.
Right.
My car was assigned to the police department.
Right.
But I was driving the car myself. I encountered a young man driving a Chevrolet pickup truck on Ingleside Village, where we've been trying to calm traffic because we had a lot of accidents in that area.
Right.
And he came through driving like a fool, and I told him to slow down. And I got him driving behind him, going Ingleside Drive, and I did. It was a mistake. But he was really endangering the citizenry of the city. And I turned on the blue light, tried to get them to stop. And just so happened a policeman would meet me on a motorcycle, and he did stop, and I turned him over to the policeman. But that was a mistake in retrospect. But let me tell you the same thing. I was pursuing someone who were endangering the lives of the citizens of our city. But let me tell you a case in point. Jim Marshall, when he was mayor, down at the health club, they said
I remember that.
There was a peeping Tom. He chased the man down.
Chased him down the street.
Tell him that he was cited as a hero.
I remember that.
But I was cited as a villain that should go to jail.
I remember that.
Someone who could have done even more harm in the car. But I'm just saying. But I understand the differences. I was born and raised in Macon, Georgia. I understand the dual. I understand. I understand.
No. I prefaced the question. I prefaced the question saying I wasn't taking their side. I only read about it in the Telegraph. I wanted to hear it from him, from his mouth, what happened.
It was a mistake for me because I'm not authorized, but the car itself is authorized to have the blue lights, siren. But the only person
and every mayor is authorized to have that kind of car. Okay,
as long as it's assigned to the police department.
Right.
As long as your car is assigned, that you get your.
Why wouldn't you be authorized if you're the mayor of the city and you're basically the commander in chief of Macon, Georgia?
But you know,
why wouldn't you be authorized to do that?
Well, the only person that could have authorized me to do that would have been the sheriff by giving me, deputizing me, and now that's what you're going to find in politics. I hope David Davis doesn't get into that. I don't want a million people running around with a badge.
Deputized.
You know.
Okay. Okay, Jack Ellis. We are really against the Howard Sims thing here on this show. We have badmouthed the way that's been handled left and right. I went yesterday. I got this printed up. This is an actual complaint against a Georgia judge. I'm going to fill this out today and send it in.
And I have my copy.
I gave him a copy. He's going to do the same. Before you get out of here, we want you to address the Howard Sims DUI thing. Well, I'm sure we're going to all agree on this. We're very pissed off about how they treated that.
I think, obviously, Howard Sims is to blame because he was endangering people's lives in his own operating a vehicle while he know he was intoxicated on two different occasions.
Well, the police are to blame also.
Yeah, the police is to blame because what they did, but he took advantage of his position. Now, had I been arrested for DUI, I can imagine I would have mugshot up and so forth and so on. But he was.
I agree with that.
But he, he used his position to curry favor. No, and here's a district attorney at one point, and the judge and we preach all the time. No one's above the law.
Right.
We are a nation of laws. No one's above the law. The President of the United States, Nixon, got impeached for lying. This guy was doing something even worse. He was endangering the people's lives, drinking, and got away with it, and still the people elected
more than once.
him. Right. So I think that he should just resign, do the honorable thing, and say, I cannot, in good faith, in good conscience, sit in judgment of anyone that's had an accident, that's been involved in a DUI, or anything else, because I'm as guilty as they are.
Right.
What do you think about Modina's decision to give him a thump on the pinky?
That was just a political decision that was made, and that's what sheriffs are, political people. They are elected. So therefore, that's why I was so against this consolidation, putting all the police powers in the hands of a sheriff. Because had that been the mayor in charge of the police chief now, that police chief, if he would do something like, you can fire that police chief.
Right.
And get you one who's going to be fair and unbiased when it comes to patrolling the city, meting out justice, not one who's going to look at who you are and what position is to see whether you are a
well, you have hope that David Davis is going to be different.
I hope he's learned something from this incident.
I'm hoping
I trust this is a big,
and
he should have to make a statement at some point to say that he disagrees with this, but this will never happen during his administration. He's been very silent on this issue, and I call on him to repudiate what had happened here. And it was bad police policy, it was bad policing, it was bad policy. It was just made a mockery out of the criminal justice system.
Well, you know that we showed up on at the press conference, and I insisted on being let in.
Yes.
And it was Mr. Davis that actually escorted me upstairs and actually sat me down in the middle row of just facing the podium while I sat there shaking my head at Modena, and he literally abruptly left the stage like Groucho Marx, all hunched.
Well, you think he had all powers, and that's what sheriffs do. They have all power. They it's always from the one in Arizona. They all sheriffs. They're political people. You give them law power. You give them all the guns and all the bullets. They are in charge of all the guns and all the bullets in the city and county, and they think they're above reproach because they're a Constitution officer, and you can't mess with me. The only person who can mess with me is the governor. He doesn't know he's up there, and he doesn't care. Therefore, elected officials abdicate all policing to one person, and that's not a good deal.
Yeah,
that would be tantamount to the FBI chief being elected.
And that was the primary reason why you
because
were
compared to an elected compared to a regular police officer, being a deputy or sheriff, as an elected official, you can't just fire them on the spot. You have to go through procedure like impeachment and all that.
God,
like any other.
I mean, you have to get a sheriff out of office. You almost got to catch him molesting a little boy or something.
Wow.
So look at the camera. Look at the camera for us and tell us all this. Tell everybody, the world out there.
Yeah.
When you were in office, you never used your title, your power, in any sort of way like that, like Judge Sims did.
Never
Never
break
pulled
a law.
over. Never said, "Hey, I'm the mayor of Macon."
Never.
There you go.
Never to break a law.
Okay.
Now there was some favors extended to me, like when I go to Atlanta Airport, I'm given free parking. I was at the time, and I got escorted right to the plane side. The mayor of Atlanta arranged that for me. There were some other.
Well, you're good friends with him anyway, right?
Yeah.
You were good friends with him anyway.
Yeah, and that goes with.
But I never to break a law. Never broke any laws. Somebody even put out a rumor around here that I went to a restaurant and ate lobster and walked out and didn't expect to pay. Nonsense. And Neil Bortz got a hold of that nonsense and said it on the air.
I remember.
And said it on the air, but let me tell you what I did.
Right.
Now, this never made the news. I sued him.
You squashed it.
No, but I sued him and made him, and they said, "How much money you want?" My lawyer, I said, "I don't want any money. I'm not doing it for money. I want him to give a public apology on this show for 3 days in a row," which he did. I have the tape.
I do remember that happened. I do remember that happened.
Because you can't escape behind people's character like that. Give me the restaurant. I want to know the restaurant, when it happened, and who said this.
So,
you can't just say
do you think you're still being investigated as of now?
Investigated for what?
Well, because remember how they talked about they were going to investigate you while you were in office?
Well, let me tell you.
And now that you're out of office, do you still think there's an investigation?
I've been vetted for an appointment in this administration.
Right.
I've been vetted by the FBI and the State Department and the National Security Administration for my appointment as the Consul General for which I still hold for the country of Uganda, Honorary Consul General, representing them in South United States. So there's nothing in my background. Plus, I'm retired from the military. I've been cleared for a top secret clearance, and I don't currently have it because I have no need to know. I'm retired. So, but there's nothing in my background. There's no secrets. My life has been an open book since I joined the paratroopers and the Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol back in 1966.
Which we appreciate your service. We do appreciate your service.
And you've done a lot for this city that has not been brought up.
But so when does your campaign start for mayor?
Well, my campaign basically,
other than right now.
We're doing work now. We're recruiting volunteers. We're raising money. But of course, my focus right now is getting our president reelected, getting David Lucas elected, getting the other worthy Democrats in the city and county of the city of Macon County be elected. I'll be leaving for Ohio next week. Supposing I was going to North Carolina, they said no, we're going to Ohio instead. We want to get the president elected.
You have to be careful because Hurricane Sandy will be coming around.
That's right.
Yeah,
Big
that's
Frankenstein.
right. I'm not going to Northern Virginia.
You brought up, sorry to interrupt, but you brought up David Lucas, which reminded me. So what are your thoughts of Marion Paris? Would you not have voted for her?
Oh, I couldn't vote for her under the circumstances. How can I support her when she did something that was unconscionable? When she signed the bill, she had veto power over this consolidation bill. She could have negotiated out the sheriff being the chief law enforcement official or that supermajority. She had the vote. She had veto power, too. She had seized the state. And she gave up her vote. I'm never say she sold her vote, as some people say. She gave up her vote for campaign funds and people to support her, and she was defeated because she went against the will of the people.
Right.
The will of the people. Her precincts, her district, voted overwhelmingly against consolidation.
Right.
So it would make sense then. So they showed her we opposed to your vote. So then you can't come back and support someone that you were so opposed to what they had just
right. But many people have reasons. I was on the other side, of course, agreeing with Miriam.
Maybe she's a nice person.
But here's the thing: we all had our different reasons. Like, For you, it was, and it made sense. You and I, you had
Yeah, it
one
was
chair.
two things on it I couldn't
Was the
deal with.
sheriff.
And that supermajority. I don't like it.
And that supermajority,
Yeah.
correct. Actually, Mr. Lucas brought that up when we were on the show. But you have brought up the sheriff, and I kind of like, yeah, you're right on that. But to me, it was more about there's just too many heads and not that many Indians.
That's true. We don't need as many elected officials, but we could have fixed that by going. We could have fixed that. We could have had 7, 9, and still had consolidation, but having the governing authority, mayor and council, having some oversight on law enforcement, and having a simple majority, 5-4 vote, the way it is now in city council, the way it is in every board or authority in this town. This is the only one. So my question is, why?
Yeah.
Why do we need a supermajority in this body, and we never had one in another body? And then the same people who were supportive of that come back at this commission that's putting this thing together, transition team, whatever it is, and say out of 15 people, we only need 5 to make a binding decision. 5 out of 15. But the other one, you need 6 out of 9.
6 out of 9.
That doesn't make sense.
So a lot of our chatters, of course, again, you don't have a lot of supporters on there, which is all right. It's
That's
part of
okay.
it. That is part of the deal.
When he told me why he was appointing the guy from Florida, I understand Florida's in play. They have electoral. When he told me why he was appointing the guy from Florida, I understand Florida's in play. They have electoral vote. He appointed a the deputy Senate leader down there who's doing a great job, by the way. So I don't have any problem with that.
Well, you brought him up, so this reminds me of this too. I got a lot to ask you. But so what are your thoughts on, do you think they dropped the ball on the Benghazi, Libya embassy attack?
What they dropped the ball on, that's one place that I part with our president in his foreign policy, is that the whole Libya thing was handled entirely recklessly, if you will. Mm-hmm. I think Gaddafi could have been gotten rid of without tearing the country apart as it is now. And the AU, the African Union, had agreed, after all, Libya is in Africa, not in the Middle East.
Right.
And they had agreed that we will get Gaddafi. Chad has agreed to take it. Niger had agreed to take it and exile, just as the guy in Niger, in Algeria. Was Algeria? No, the other one, Tunisia. Just as Tunisia had gone into exile. But this administration, Hillary Clinton primarily, the Secretary of State, I know this for a fact, talked to several presidents in the AU, that they were very upset about it. They turned around and said, we have the Arab League's support to go in, and that's all we need. Well, it's not in Arabia. It's on the continent of Africa. Gaddafi had been the most recent president of the African Union. So they had cut a deal to get him to leave, he and his family, to give up some of the wealth, leave it behind, and go into exile. But they wanted to kill him, and that's what they did. But yet, they say he was a tyrant, he had all this power, but yet we support Saudi Arabia, they have a monarch there. We support Jordan, they have had a monarch forever. We support Bahrain, the people don't have a vote there. So we choose who we want to be our friends. One dictator is okay, the other dictator is a tyrant. Just as in, I'm not saying this because of, but like President Chavez. President Chavez in Venezuela has been elected by the people on 4 different occasions. This past election, they said, he can't win, but President Carter and his opponent said it was the fairest election ever conducted, and he got 55% of the vote. Yep. And his opponent, even his opponent, who was a very Western educated guy, educated at Harvard, 42 years old, stood to the world and say, I commend President Chavez, congratulate his people, it was a fair election, I lost fair and square, the people have spoken. Then who are we then to be against who the people say that they want to be their leader?
Same thing happening in Egypt now.
Any more questions you guys got for him?
No,
I was with the president of Egypt, by the way,
really?
last week in Uganda.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, look, and it's the same thing that's happening in Israel against the Hamas group, and there's all these divisions, and we've got it here. We've got like kind of the world picture here in Macon, all this division between people, and that's the number one thing I picked up when I got here almost 3 years ago. Is, wow, this place is pretty divisive. Now, I'm coming from New York City, where there's like I said, 9.8 million people.
Roughly
But
10
that's
million.
division, though. Come on, you
Oh,
can't tell
but
me
let
New
me
York.
explain.
Don't tell me New York is a utopia.
I know there's division. Believe me, I was the wrath of it. Our division is even within the culture. Like Dominicans in New York don't like Puerto Ricans.
And Puerto Ricans don't like certain African Americans. There's a big divide, man. There's a divide.
Well, no, let me
There's
finish.
a
And then they were all
divide
brought
in
in by the
Harlem
same
and
slave
Of course there is.
Queens.
Of course there is.
And yes.
Of course there is. But let me tell you something. I ran the Waldorf Astoria housekeeping. I ran the Hilton Hotel housekeeping and what they call environmental services at St. Barnabas Hospital. I was basically the boss in charge of over 1,500 people. And believe me, most of them were Dominican, African American, and actually Polish. And these folks were not easy with each other. But somehow
But it happened.
The
I mean,
unity.
let's cut it down, Irvin. Racism's everywhere. We know that.
The unity was
But
to
let's get
get
to the
the
question.
job done.
Question.
The question is, forget about what you feel about each other. It's about doing the job that you supposedly are supposed to be doing. Why can't Macon come together for the sake of the citizens of Macon and just make a go at it? It's been over 30 years that we've been stagnant and kind of in suspended animation, still living off the dead people, the Allman Brothers, Otis Redding.
And we
lost the museum.
we can. That's a legacy that we have to hold on to. That's
Yeah,
one
of
that we
course.
have to promote. We have to embrace, and we ought to be trying to produce more Otis Reddings and Allman Brothers.
Correct.
This is the capital of music in the state of Georgia, and we should treat it as such. And we didn't do it. The mayor and the chairman didn't treat it as such when they didn't fight harder to keep the Music Hall of Fame here. They should have. We should have fought. We should have put our money on the line for that, because that's an industry in and of itself. Just as we fought to build the Tubman Museum. I think that was a good thing. But we should be fighting to get trains here. We are too close to 6 million people not to be realizing some of that benefit if we had the right marketing plan and the right thing. That's why I support legalized gambling. I support casino gambling. There's a way to get it done. We happen to be in the homeland of the Creek Nation. All we have to do is get some land back to them in trust and allow them to come build a casino if they wish. And they control it, but look at the jobs it will provide, look at the tax revenue, and look at the amount of people it will be bringing to our city. In a day's drive, we can get 7 or 8 million. We would then a day's drive for 8 million people. You can drive up from Jacksonville, Savannah, Atlanta, 5.5 million people. I mean, we are Birmingham. You know, we are in a very good position, but we have to take advantage of it. Look at the new industry. No more Brown and Williamsons are coming. We can forget that. People are not going to make $50,000 or $60,000 a year. These distribution centers are paying people $7,000 to $8,000 an hour. You can't support a family there.
Exactly.
And so until we get all of our people educated to take advantage of the high-tech industry or bring in the labor-intensive things such as commercial gambling, casino gambling, we're just going to be an also-ran city.
Well, that's very true, because Macon is geographically speaking the heart of Georgia, not just
Yeah.
a euphemism.
Yeah.
We can't afford Macon to go into economic cardiac arrest.
Exactly.
Do you really? And you were close in the last race, but do you really think as many naysayers that you have out there, and you do have supporters though? Do you think you really have a chance
Of
in this
course,
next
I have a
mayor
chance.
race?
Of
You do.
course, every time you get in the ring, you have a chance.
Do you?
That's it. Oh,
We never thought Irvin had a chance when he ran for state senate 26.
Well, nobody gave me a chance. Nobody gave me a chance last year.
Well,
And
there
were 800, and I know there were 800 votes weren't counted. And I know there were some people that lived out of the city that voted. I know for a fact they live at Carlisle Place. They used to live in the city. They came in to vote. I understand that. But what we have to do is get our voter participation up. It's very clear that the numbers are on our side. All we have to do is get voter education and voter participation up. So it's about turnout. It's all about turnout. When we were winning that election to the last precinct, and that precinct voted 80% in North Macon, and our last precinct voted 43%. So the task is ours. We have to make sure that we get voter participation up. And not to suppress anybody else's participation, but get ours up. So it's strictly about a ground game. It's strictly about voter turnout. It's strictly about numbers at the end of the day.
You are and always will be the first black mayor of Macon.
That's
Two terms.
Yeah,
So
that's
now,
history.
That being said, right? So would you want this And do you look forward to this happening? Do you think there's going to be a statue erected in your honor when you're passed away?
I don't know. I would never advocate that, but if my daughters or if the governing authority or someone else wanted to do it,
it'll be a nice tall statue.
It would be an honor, but I would never. I didn't run for mayor to make history. I ran for mayor to make a difference, and I hope that my 8 years that I know I made a difference.
Do you think that's something that should only be done after the person passes away?
Oh no, I think people should have the flowers while they're awake.
You do?
Well, just like in Atlanta. I'm just saying, I'm not advocating a statue. No, I'm not Cynthia McKinney, but Andrew Young. The statue of him. There's a street named there. There's Joseph Lowry has a street. Ivan Allen had a street named after him while he was
Jimmy Carter Boulevard.
Hey, we changed the name of Reagan of National Airport to Ronald Reagan while he was still alive.
And I'm against it all around the spectrum. I'm against. I think I supported that. Like stamps, I think a dead person should only be on a stamp, not a living person.
Well, that's
and the same with statues and roads.
Here again,
I just want to know what he thought of it.
I think they should have something in honor of him, even a school.
Well, they will have something. We know for a fact he will be honored.
I mean, that happened. But wait a minute. The war, the war is not over. We won a few battles, but the war goes on. And I'm in the game. I'm in it to win it.
Right.
And we're going to do everything in our powers. We're going to take our message all over this county. I was born in the rural part of this county, the son of a sharecropper. I migrated to the city when I was a 13-year-old boy. So I understand the lives Ellis, the sub-South. I understand what we have in common. We have more in common than not, and we better come to grips with that. That I'm going to win this election. I'm in it to win it. We're going to turn out our vote, and we're going to win, and we're going to represent all the people. And I want to work with everyone who is willing to work with me for the advancement of those cities. Those who want to be naysayers and want to tear everybody down.
Whatever.
Well, everybody's going to have that. Everybody's going to have that.
Yeah, but you can't let that
Rick
bother
has
you.
his naysayers.
Yeah, but you can't let them bother you. They can't get into your decision time. Just as our president. You can't listen to that nonsense. It's just noise.
I need to drill that in my head.
Y'all got any feels?
Look, no matter what happens, I'm in it. I'm in the game too. I mean, irregardless of what people may think, I may not have a shot in hell, but I'm going to make sure I'm a thorn in people's sides in this community, especially for speaking on things that you spoke about today, which I'm so glad you came in and so eloquently, finally explained to me and the public what in fact occurred during the time that I wasn't here with you as mayor, twice. But
we do appreciate your
had a great time. We accomplished a lot.
We do appreciate your
No. But even 6%. I didn't spend a dime, Mr. Mayor, on that election except to qualify and $35 to get me to Atlanta. And I still got a respectable 6%.
That could only happen in Macon. You couldn't go to New York. You couldn't go to New York and run in the Senate race and spend no money and get 6%, and you know it.
Right. but that's the uniqueness of this place. Yeah. And I will say this, though.
So we're pretty open.
We're pretty open.
So we're not as bad as you
thought. You're flip-flopping, Irvin.
No. Listen, I'm expecting...
But anyway, is that we've done here?
We're about. The thing about this show is we're not on a time schedule. If you got to go, you got to go.
No, I don't.
But the thing about it is we have commercial break. We usually finish at 11, but we had you on here. We wanted to ask you a lot of questions.
I wanted to be BS.
No, we wanted. Yeah, we had the Rolling Stone magazine.
I'm running for commission, regardless of.
But you got a lot of good stuff to say. People want to know what you got to say.
On the serious note, and I have been quite serious about most of the things I've said here today, is that we have to believe in this town, all of us. We have to. Just consolidation is not a panacea. That's not going to solve all our problems. Well, I heard our mayor state once that, well, we won't be the seventh port. One of the reasons for consolidation and one of the benefits, we won't be the seventh port city in the world, in the nation anymore. Maybe we'll be the 10th or 12th. But the point that he misses is that we still have the same amount of poor people. Just because the percentages change, the numbers doesn't change. We still have, numbers don't change. So what we have to do is make sure that we work to get all of our citizens up to a good standard of living, that with a good education, with decent and affordable houses, with services, with sidewalks and amenities and playgrounds and parks and recreations and senior citizen centers and good animal centers, all the things that goes into a good city, good library system, a good road work, good transportation system. We are too large of a city. not to have public transportation on a Sunday. People in this city
Thank
cannot.
you. I was just saying
20%,
Right.
20% of the population in our city and county do not own a car. So on Sunday, what do they do? Stay home. What if someone would tell me or you on Sunday, park your car, you can't drive it, get around the best way that you can? That's not mass transportation.
That's
Public
been one of my
transportation
biggest pet
should
peeves.
be available every day. I wouldn't say 24 hours a day, but at least from 5 o'clock in the morning, those people who have to be to work at 6 or 7 at the hospital, until midnight at night. That's where it was when I was a boy growing up in this town. I used to work at Food Fair Supermarket as a teenager. I would get off from work, the store would close at 9. Probably I should have been in school studying, but we had to work. But we had to work. Then you go home after that. The store closed at 9. You clean up. You go downtown, catch the bus. You get home. You're at 10:30. Then you do your homework. You go to bed. Next day, you get up, walk to school. But what I'm saying is that now, if I wanted a job on Sunday evening, if I worked out at the new mall out there, I can't get a job out there because I have no way to get there. The bus is not running. So what I'm saying is that those are the kinds of things that we have to fix to show that we are an inclusive city and not one who says, I got mine, I have a car, you walk, and see you later.
Yeah.
Pink Heat, one of our viewers, chatter, says he's not an honest man, black or white.
Whatever.
There how it goes.
I mean,
Well,
what is the perception of
Judge
crime?
not be not judge. That's what I say.
Right. Crime. The perception of crime in Macon is not too good. I mean,
we have too much crime.
Where do you think? And I'm not going to say we can pinpoint where it comes from exactly, but what do you think this city has the crime problem it has? First and foremost, we
have a social and economic problem that's very deep and it's wide. We have too many, especially African American males, uneducated, had not been properly habilitated, so it's kind of hard to rehabilitate someone who's not been habilitated. As I spoke earlier about teen pregnancy, that's part of it. We have poverty is another factor. If you show me a crime, you show me poverty, I make the connection, but I'm not saying just because you're poor you have to commit crime. If that was the case, I would be in prison because I grew up very poor.
Right.
And
even though it doesn't help.
And I tried, but it doesn't help.
It doesn't.
But to be poor and growing up in a society of plenty, because people see things, they want things, and they're not educated, they don't have the wherewithal to get it, and unfortunate they get involved in crime. Starts at petty crime, then maybe next is selling drugs. But what I would like to do, I would like to see in this town, I think we arrested entirely too many kids with a stick of marijuana and criminalizing them.
Plus, it doesn't help
for the
when you
rest
have
of
the
their
liquor
lives.
stores and gun stores in the poor neighborhoods as well.
Yeah, that too. I grew up in the 60s, so I'm no fuddy-duddy. I understand we were the first ones to smoke marijuana.
Right.
And in abundance. I was in Vietnam. It was used.
Right.
But so now to take every 17 or 18-year-old with a stick of marijuana and make him or her a criminal is
a felon. Which is ridiculous.
I'm not saying it should be legal, but we should decriminalize it and not giving people felonies. Then they'll really mess up for the rest of their life. They come back, they can't get jobs, so they just begin to steal and break in and because people want to have resources, and if they don't have the wherewithal to get them, unfortunately, I'm not making an excuse for them, but we got to provide jobs, got to provide training, and provide all the other social services that it takes. When Hillary Clinton stated, used the old African proverb, which was a long time before Hillary Clinton, that it takes a village. It does take a village. Some of these families do need some help in order to raise their children, to get them to a point where they can be successful in life. And we have to do what we can.
You are, whether you want to admit it or not, or whether other people want to admit it, you are a figure in the African American community that people do listen to, that people do respect. Not all, but some. Are you going into these crime-ridden neighborhoods? Are you going into these neighborhoods and talking to these kids?
Are you? Bought a house.
Well, you bought a house, but he didn't say where he bought the house. But are you doing this stuff?
Oh, of course I'm.
Are you going there? Do you go to Village Green a lot?
Oh, not a lot, but I go to different portions, not just Village Green. I live in Pleasant Hill.
Right.
Before that, I lived in Cherokee Heights, and so I'm in this community. I'm into the bowels of this community. There's not one street in this community that I'm afraid to go on, or perhaps I haven't been on, either before I was mayor, after I was mayor, or during my term as mayor. I go all over the city. Some people just go down Mercer University. They don't look left or right, and don't get on those side streets. They don't know what's going on. I know what's going on in the community. So as I know what's going on in North Macon, as I know what's going on, it's my job to know. I make it my business to know what's going on in all communities. I ride day and night through the city. I stop and talk to kids on the corner.
Speaking of Pleasant Hill,
I support some kids. Buy their some school backpacks to go back to school.
Speaking of Pleasant Hill, what are your views on the widening of the I-75? I-16.
We talked about it on the show a couple of days ago.
I think it's a good thing. I looked at the plans. Peter Gibbons briefed me on them during my last run as mayor last year. I think what they have proposed to do can only enhance that part of the, the damage was done when they put the freeway through it in the first place and dissected the city. So the damage has been done. So the only thing we do now is take it and try to rehabilitate it the best that we can. It's located in a very historic part of our town. So I think they deserve the same attention that Shirley Hills would get, that In-Town Macon would get, and the rest of them. Case in point, I live on Monroe Street. Monroe is in the In-Town Historic District. Part of Monroe is in Pleasant Hill. The other part is on the... Now, all the big trucks that's going to the post office goes on Monroe Street. Monroe Street is a very historic street. That's where most of the African Americans lived shortly after the Civil War, and they bought big houses and built them there. They were merchants. A lot of them had been free prior to the Civil War. But now we say, hey, what about some of these trucks going down College Street? Why are they all going? And someone said, well, College Street is an in-town historic district. Well, so is Monroe Street, unbeknownst to them.
Right.
And well, they don't want the trucks on any of the trucks on their street, and I used to live on College Street, and they want all of them on our street, and it's in the in-town historic district. So that kind of thinking, we've got to stop that kind of thinking in this town, thinking that one street is better than another street because of who lives on that street.
Right.
One final question, at least for me. Georgia is the most popular state as far as filmmaking is concerned, right behind New York and California. And I know that we have a large history in music, but also a rising history coming up in film, such as Tyler Perry, as well as Spike Lee, who went to Morehouse. How can we be able to get, and also with MAGA, the film festival coming up this upcoming February, how can we get make a transportational and economic synergy of the city of Macon being the heart of Georgia geographically and culturally speaking? How can we get that unified to have a synergy of economic and transportation working together, getting filmmakers and other artists from Atlanta and northern parts of Georgia, as in Athens and in the UGA area and Georgia Tech area, as well as Macon and South Georgia, and to become
very good question. And I think I'm sorry.
How can we do that?
But that's a very good question. It's leadership. You know, I remember being so criticized. I went to the Oscars.
I remember that.
The U.S. Conference of Mayors sent me to the Oscars in 2002 because I was involved, and I was the chairman of the film commission of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, because all films were going to Canada because of the tax thing. And the deal was we wanted cities to do. So I led a delegation of mayors to go to the Oscars to talk to all the producers about making films in cities. And of course my city was top of the list, and even had some people to come here. So I established the first film commission, music and film commission. I established that. The gentleman that runs the advertising was our chair. What's his name?
Steve Bell.
Steve Bell. Steve Bell was the chair.
I remember.
And it was hard to get support. He went to Hollywood. He spent to save his money.
Well, because they said you're spending all the money doing that, right?
Well, that was an economic development thing. That was just like me
But
going
again,
to visit
though,
somebody.
But was that
I was ahead of my time.
Guidelines, was that allowed for the mayor to do that?
Of course.
It was.
Of
Okay.
course
He was
it
ahead of his
was.
time, like
I
you
was
said.
doing exactly what this man is saying we should do.
Right.
But I was condemned for doing it because I was doing it. If I had walked across,
Or were you condemned
had
because
I
you were black
walked, well,
doing it?
because
Well,
of,
that's
because who I am.
honorable.
Had I walked across the Mississippi, had I walked across the Ocmulgee River one day,
Right.
someone would have said, "You don't see that old sea jack? He can't swim." That would have probably, that would have been.
Because our people don't know how to swim.
You know,
You know.
My God. Sir, you are so gracious with your time.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you all
we do
very much.
appreciate it.
Yeah, look,
took over a whole hour.
We plan on running a very positive campaign. We are going to point out differences. I understand that Rickard, Sam Hart will be in it, maybe someone else, but we take it on all.
I hear Al Tillman's running.
No,
isn't
he's
he?
not.
He's not?
No,
Are you
he's
good
not.
buddies with Al? Al
Yeah,
came on our show.
Al is a good.
He's not running for anything?
No, he's not.
Mayor or county
No,
commissioner?
and Al is a friend. I like to have him on my team. Like to have him as an advisor. I treasure his.
He was on the
his
show.
advice and his opinions, but he's been wrong on some issues, and we disagree, but we agree to disagree with
There
no
we go.
animosity. See, here's the thing: your opponents. I'm a combat soldier. I served 2 years in Vietnam in the paratroopers. I know how to kill people, know how to take them out, know how to do those kind of things. But those are enemies. Your enemy you kill, your opponent you defeat. So I want to defeat them. I don't want to kill them. You know, they're not my enemies. They're my opponents.
Got it. That's great.
Thank you.
Any other parting words
Well
besides
said.
that? That's
Well,
it?
thank you all very much.
Thanks
Have a
for
great
coming on.
weekend.
At least
It's
you
Friday.
came and sat up here with us.
TGI.
Thank you for your
I
time,
could have asked you a
man.
hell of a lot more things, but we didn't have time, and Irvin didn't want
I'll
to
come
do it.
back. I'll come back.
Come
one
back.
day.
man.
Come back.
I'll come back.
Come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
We also
Good to
want
see
to
you.
thank Blog TV for making us featured again. Also, Derek Shapiro for DSS TV.
Thank all our
very
chatters.
much. Thank all our chatters there. Thank
Name
you for
some of
Sabuki, Mila USA, Big COO3,
Pink Heat,
Brother Mazone, Pink Heat, yes.
Coffee Guy. Thank you,
Strange
brother.
Place, Blog Hero, Bold Rock, also E Poet.
Wow. 1 hour.
Wow,
Yeah,
over an
big
hour.
hour.
Over an hour. Hour and a
Yes.
half.
We
He
had
was- he
over
was on an hour and a half.
Had over 17 chatters right here. Just at
We
one
appreciate it,
hour.
and like I said, he's
And
going
we
to
are
come back
way
on
over
again.
our
We're gonna,
numbers. He can come back.
we need to actually grab questions from our chatters. They were trying to ask some, and I was trying to get to them to ask some of their questions and get them
Yeah,
on
but
there.
you were a mouthful with your questions.
Well, I mean, because
no. You ask your question.
I did my homework. I made questions at home. You guys just, well, you did. Derek
Yeah.
asked some, but you didn't really bring up much. You were just kind of going on there.
No, I said to you that I was going to ask him about relationship.
Right. But we
And
appreciate
that's
anybody
all I
and all.
wanted. I didn't want a
Well, I
whole
don't know.
barrage.
Oh, well, I'm not trying to
I
barrage
like
him. We
Jack
just,
Ellis. I agree with him.
Yeah.
well, you can
already-
like, don't
Yeah.
get us wrong. You don't have, you can like the person.
I always thought that he
but
was
you have
getting
to-
a raw deal
But you
with
have
the way
to
they
question.
talked
You
about
have to
it.
question what people are questioning. People
The only
wonder
question
where the
I
money
wanted to
went.
know is-
I asked where the money
like
went.
I said,
I
he is
mean,
a guy who
He
really...
said it was used on. You know,
I
he
knew that it
answered.
was all... most of the stuff they talked about him was bogus.
Well,
Well,
it's
you
little-
make your own decision. That's what this show's about. You see and hear what you just saw and heard. You decide for yourself what you think of the man. You decide what you think of us. That's what this show's about.
Yes, sir.
You have a great weekend. What's that roasted this weekend, guys? We got roasted cafe and lounge. What's we got tonight? A band, Nick, or DJs? Funk You tonight. Acoustic
There
version
we
of
go.
Funk You. Come check them out. It's down here on
That's a band.
442 2nd Street. Yeah, Funk You. F-U-N-K. Funk.
WNK, yes.
I'm out of here. I'll let them take us out. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Roasted Cafe Lounge. Thanks, VIP.
You take us out. Thank
Gary.
you.
Oh, yes,
Great-
definitely.
Guys, great show. Thank
Well,
you.
it's been
Yes,
a
thank you.
wonderful show. We'll like thank former
Thank you,
Mayor
Jack
Jack
Ellis.
Ellis for coming in. It's 66 degrees. We also, well, actually 74 degrees this afternoon. You take care of yourself. Keep cool. Watch out for the Hurricane Sandy. And we will see you Monday. We'll be closing the show with Juby in the morning after, a local band with their wonderful video. So until next time, till Monday, stay calm and keep roasted, everybody.
Yeah,
Yes.
baby.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
See ya.
I don't think you can take the bass. I don't think you can take all that bass.
I told my people that we about to make a movie. Committed suicide and told the cameraman to shoot me. I don't close you can probably walk through me, but no homo when I say I blow through it. My uncle told me don't stop until the last inch. So I'm about to blow like I live within the gas. The way I feel lately, I'm soft hot there till they rebuild, hate it. Refreshing the new MC still hate me. And why they still know I'm getting refilled, baby. Thank God I'm in the open. About to push rappers on these blocks like child for the East Coast. Trying to get the business, I can't even get the company. And all the girls that used to trouble me, trying to get the business, I can't even get the company.